Hello everyone and welcome to another video. How is everyone doing? In today's video, we have a little bit of everything, because in this game, we are encountering a lot of unfortunate events from the start. First, no one was covering the blue buff, and sadly we died a horrible death. And second, we have a Silas support. Later on we'll discuss the benefits of having Silas as a support. Since we lost the early game in a somewhat weird way, I decided, you know what, here's the plan. I'll settle for the enemy blue side. If they're helping him secure his blue, the only other option is to fight him on his red since bot helped him take my blue, then head over to make a play around mid or the top side. Also, when you have a strong player on the top side, try to give him as many kills as possible and provide a winning early game if you feel he'll be your win condition. Now, I have a certain policy when it comes to dodging. I try to never dodge and settle for the game with the current conditions. And when we have Silas as the support, it looks great on paper. It's as if we have an extra 4 ultimates. But the issue is that the one who will suffer most from this setup is our ADC. What do you think a Silas support will provide for our Jinx? A very immobile champion that shines only in the late game by some unknown events. In fact, this game shows how Jinx should behave in Arcane, only good due to the plot. And to be fair, Jinx didn't do anything wrong here. Now, of course, since everyone is making mistakes, it's time to make our own. But this one was intentional, because I wanted to deny Teemo as many objectives as possible. We took the Drake, and I was hoping to get the grubs. The only issue here is that Darius was dead, and it was in a bad spot. I was hoping Katarina would come to help, but since she was late, I just committed to the play, took the grubs, and accepted my death. Now, of course, back to our original play. My plan from the start was to make sure that our Darius is as strong as possible, can't be killed, can't be chased, and will be our cornerstone in the mid-game. Katarina, on the other hand, is very volatile. I can help Katarina win, but I was hoping she would manage that herself, either by roaming or getting solo kills. Now, of course, whenever there's a chance that Teemo will counter our top side, we need to be there at the right time. And for some unknown reason, Teemo was always around Darius. Even though there were objectives and his camps were up, he kept hovering top. So I said, you know what, let's play around Darius. Whenever Darius makes a play, we'll be there for him until he takes his first tower. At that point, I'll ask bot side to switch with him so we can apply the same pressure around Drakes. Of course, this is only viable until the 20-minute mark, because we'll have the Baron fight coming up. Now, until your dreams are all set in stone, and you think everything is fine, you go to the bot side and discover that the bot lane is losing horribly. Why? Because of the Silas support. You know, I understand that most Jinx players need some time, at least 2 seasons, for character development, item purchases, and once the champion gets some levels, they get the attack speed boost, can kite, and play around objectives and such. But in this situation, our lovely ADC was useless at the start, useless in the middle, and most likely will be useless in the late game unless we are there to help. Sadly, whenever we go to the bot side, we're dead. And of course, as you know by now, the rule is that if we play around our top laner or mid laner, we make gold and get experience. Otherwise, if we try to help our bot side, we are either dead or, even worse, giving kills and losing. The only good thing that happened for our bot side was that Katarina managed to get 2 kills from them. And just from that play, she became strong enough to come and help us with our objectives. The issue in this game is that we have a discrepancy in our composition. We have Darius, who needs resets to get going, Katarina, who needs also resets to get going, Silas, who is an aggressive player by nature, and then we have Volibear, a bear that wants to fight while we are in the center of the fight. In this situation, what do you expect Jinx will be doing? Absolutely nothing. Jinx needs the game to be played around her. She's an immobile ADC that outputs a lot of damage, and the moment I try to help Jinx, I am forsaking 2 of our carries and 1 useless champion that I don't know what to do with in this game. Now, of course, all of this back and forth was just based on our team composition. Now let's look at the enemy team. The enemy team has a jungle that can control vision and set up shrooms in the mid game. Why? Because it is hard to have proper vision in the enemy jungle in low elo. Teemo can set up an unlimited number of shrooms. I think I need to take pen and paper and estimate how many shrooms Teemo can make per minute so I can prepare myself mentally. And in this situation, among all these fights, we are making an attempt to establish some pressure around the enemy jungle. And here we are. Riot Games come into play and says, hold on a second, we will show you a new feature in the game. You can be alive while you are dead. To be honest, I don't know what they're doing. The company needs to focus more on stability rather than on innovation. I think this is just them making mistakes on purpose so that they can justify it by redoing all the runes for the start of the new season, hence creating jobs out of intentional mistakes. Now, of course, sometimes you get so caught up in the game that you forget you're the only one trying to make something happen. As we know, The 20-minute mark is the easiest and fastest time for Baron buff. The only solution to counter Teemo in his jungle is to play aggressively around jungle entrances. This way, he can't place shrooms, he can't get vision, and of course Teemo can't outsmite us. But one thing he can do is stop us from doing the Baron safely by continuously throwing shrooms at us out of vision. So of course the only thing we can do, since we have Katarina and Darius, is to create a fight. But the only issue is that the team is not on board, and you can't play instead of others. You can only do so much with one champion. And in this situation the problem is that our team is out of sync. The bot side wants to do something totally different than the mid lane and top side, and the only one stuck in the middle is the jungler. In situations like this, you can clearly see that we're in a bad spot. I admit it, I don't know how to deal with this specific team, and I have no clue how to play around my allies. And again, this speculation is all based solely on my team's decisions. You can see that the enemy team has started sending their maiden and trying to apply pressure. In other words, if we lose the fight, they'll get free farm, XP and towers, maybe even an inhibitor, because the maiden can push down an entire lane in just a matter of minutes. Why? I know this because I've done it myself when I was playing Yorick jungle. On the other hand, even without the maiden, we are struggling to fight against the enemy team for two main reasons: Teemo's mushrooms and Zoe's ability to deal damage outside of our vision. The only solution is to play aggressively and make impactful engages. Two of our players can't do damage properly since they're either so behind or ineffective. Silas, in my opinion, is actually trolling, trying to make clips in this game, and the enemy team countered him with useless ultimates. Hence another reason why the pick is useless. Sadly, this game is getting harder and harder every time we try to make something out of it. By the rule of universal balance, since Jinx got matched with a very bad support and got trolled in Champ Select, the game gave her a chance to even out those losses by stealing the Baron. And just with that play, we are back in the game. We are not winning. We didn't stop losing. And I mean, we're not even in a close situation, but we have a chance to fight for another opportunity to win the game. I believe our win condition will be around split pushing, to give you a clear vision of why the game is getting harder for no particular reason. Whenever we make an impactful play, we can't capitalize on it. This is a clear indication that your team either has a bad composition, is lacking in damage, or is out of sync. And to top it off, if your team manages to stay alive without even getting a tower, it shows that someone on your team is trolling. And of course, we are not safe from making mistakes either. Saying all that only indicates that in desperate situations, you will go for desperate calls, and sometimes those desperate calls will backfire. The most broken champion in League of Legends. Yorick, even with all that camp, can't be held down the whole game. Yorick is one of those champions that will scale no matter what happens. He's just a little bit slow in doing that, and now we are suffering the consequences of not thinking before acting. Now the funny thing about this game is that throughout the whole match, I wasn't playing for the early game, or even the start of the mid game. I was setting myself up for the mid-late game because reaching 3 items requires you to get a little bit ahead, around 9,000 gold on average. That time usually comes around 25 to 30 minutes. Once we hit that stage, we're a totally different champion. Everyone will be surprised. We'll have the element of outplay because the enemy team will be used to facing a somewhat useless bear. But now, we're almost unkillable. There's a twist though. We're not unkillable just like that. In an abstract concept, we're strong, as long as there's a fight around us. If there are champions like Zoe, who have a lot of movement speed from her passive, running around and stopping from getting bites and shields, we will be struggling to play the game. But if we're not careful, we'll eventually be killed. Also, Ignite is a hard counter to this build. Sadly, here the team tried to go for a play, but it was random, so everyone ended up dead. In this situation, the only thing I can do is stay alive because the Baron is up, and their calls will revolve around 2 things: either to go for the Baron buff or settle for an inhibitor. If they go for the inhibitor, It could give us a chance to contest the Baron off, so the only safe thing for them to do is check the Baron. Hence, staying alive will prevent anyone from taking an inhibitor for free. In this specific game, the call is between Darius and Katarina. Both of them are very fed and very strong. The only issue is that they are making plays independently from each other. So I'm thinking that if we stick around Katarina and let Darius split push, we'll have a better chance at winning the game. Of course, the rule that was tested earlier still holds true. If we stay around Katarina, we just need to take the damage that she cannot handle and give her enough room to get some resets. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Darius will be split pushing. In this game, Darius didn't build his usual item for split pushing Hullbreaker, so he is a bit squishy against high damage champions. On the other hand, we are very tanky, and every minute that passes means we are getting stronger. Our role is to create a fight and keep it around us. The solution here is to start a fight, stay alive, and let Katarina find a good opportunity for resets while someone is applying pressure on the other side of the map. Sadly, no one is taking the bait. Everyone is playing defensively. I made a lot of engages, but everyone kept backing off. In other words, they know what we're trying to do. We want to create a fight that will give us room to generate pressure. The funny thing is, I don't understand why Yorick isn't split pushing or responding to Darius. Instead, he decided to chase us. I think this is where he wanted to kill us and release the maiden. However, the correct call would have been to ignore this and not answer the call because Yorick counters Volibear in so many ways. Most notably, you need about 4 auto attacks to take his cage, and you'd likely need to trade that using your ultimate, which isn't ideal for us. Katarina, on the other hand, could likely kill Yorick, but the enemy team is setting up around us, so we need to play defensively and cautiously. We should only engage when it works for the team. This monologue is entirely one-sided, all happening in my mind. For example, Silas decided to go in suicide for no particular reason. The moment I saw Darius on the minimap, I knew I had to hold off on engaging until the enemy team decided to back. That's the moment to make the ultimate sacrifice. If we give just a little bit of time to take an inhibitor, the enemy team will panic. They won't know whether to continue fighting or to stop the push and back. That hesitation will give us more leeway to create the proper fight, and of course, our death will be the catalyst for the last play of the game. Now, of course, Katarina played really well, but I didn't do so hot because sometimes you just get unlucky with your calls. This game wasn't built to have a perfect blueprint for winning, unless you're playing a broken champion like Kane or Graves. Those are the champions you'll find most players in high elo coaching will give you. 5 champions that are utterly broken and can help you win most of the games. But the games you'll have the most fun with are the ones where you play a simple champion by design. That's where you get room to think and make decisions and learn by yourself the game. One note regarding Silas' support. I agree with Demacia on locking him down, not just because he steals ultimates, but because he shouldn't even be in the support role. And since this was the last play of the game, if you're still here, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and drop a like. As always, thank you everyone for watching. Until the next video, take care and peace.